of applause for Senator Lisa Curtis. You want to talk about a powerful voice in New Mexico's legislature for standing up for women's rights and families. Senator Lisa Curtis is really going to make a difference. Now, with all the speeches today, it is clear to me that I don't need to convince any one of you to be a Democrat. Nope. And I don't need to convince you to embrace a Democratic agenda. We're all committed to working families in this room. But I'll bet that there's not a single person here today that's not concerned about the economy and your own financial security. I'm willing to bet that not a one of you isn't angry about the demonization of our teachers and the vilification of our public education system. And I'm willing to bet further that you're just as concerned as I am about the rising cost of healthcare and your access to quality healthcare services, and that you and me are one illness, one accident away from losing everything. We are all committed to working families, but today, ladies and gentlemen, New Mexico families are struggling just to get by. So I think it's time to send a champion to Congress, somebody who has the courage of her conviction and the integrity to stand behind it. Today, more than ever before, we have too much at stake. When a Republican, radical, right-wing Congress is giving corporations more personal power and more personal freedoms than they're giving women. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to sacrifice the future of our daughters to a male-dominated agenda in Congress. We cannot slip backwards. We will not slip backwards. Now, I'm a 12th generation New Mexican with a long, proud history of public service, from the first Chief Hispanic Justice of the New Mexico Supreme Court to my father, who I lost this year, who had the longest standing practicing dental license in the history of New Mexico. And he started his practice, thank you. And my mom is here, and she's proud of my father. He started in public health. He served poor families. And my mom was one of the first champions for special education and for making sure that people with disabilities got the dignity and respect that they deserve. Mom, I love you, and I thank you for standing with me. And as an appointee, we are no strangers to personal loss and suffering. And as appointee by 3 different governors, I have a 20-year history and record that's strong on women's issues and reproductive rights and access to family planning, to school-based health centers that we doubled in New Mexico in just 1 year, to stamping out fraud, abuse, and neglect in our worst institutions. And I didn't slip that under the rug when I was put in a position to be responsible. I stood tall. I took responsibility. I cleaned up that nursing home. I cleaned up all those providers. And I say it's time to provide that leadership in Washington. And as a county commissioner, I didn't sit idly by while another elected official behaved in an inappropriate manner and sexually harassed my assistant and created a hostile work environment. I stood up. I will always stand up. We've cleaned out county government. I've stamped out corruption. I've brought that accountability and track record to the places it belongs. And ladies and gentlemen, it belongs in Washington. As a widow and a single mother and mom, as your caregiver, we're partners. And when you moved into my house and we both are figuring out a way to forge ahead with brand new vision, clarity and independence, it is clear to me that it's those strengths and qualities, that those issues that build our foundations and make us strong, that's missing today in Washington. We've lost faith and credit. We don't believe in the people who represent us. We don't have a community of effort. I'm ready to do that with you. I humbly and respectfully ask you to join me today. I want your vote. I want your leadership. I want your conviction. I want to be your partner. I want to carry the torch for women, for working families, and I am not going to allow that agenda to be minimized by one more person in Washington. New Mexicans, we deserve better. Thank you very much.